Alrighty, hello everybody, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'll be completing Ethan's entire timeline with an EMBOT constantly chasing me. If you're not exactly familiar what an EMBOT is or does, it basically chases you, copying your movements until you either get caught or survive. With that in mind, we'll be going through the 3 timeline maps, Electrical Malfunction, Electron Memories, and Nos Astra, and I'll highlight the most noteworthy moments on each map while the EMBOT modifier is active. So, without further ado, let's kick things off with... starting off with Electrical Malfunction. This map was really, and I mean really easy to complete. It only took me about 6 minutes, which is barely any time spent. Of course, that might be because I've already beaten this map in an older video, so I was already familiar with the best approach to clearing it quickly. And if you, for some reason, really wanted to beat this map this way, which out of the 3 maps, this is the only one that I actually highly recommend playing. Oh god, I'll explain why later. Then here's the things that you have to look out for while playing this map. We begin in the first room of Electrical Malfunction. There's not much the EMBOT can do here. It's mostly just standard jumps. The only exception is the last jump to the second button. Once pressed, land near the vent and circle around the EMBOT. After that, you enter the acid swim section, which is really straightforward. Exiting it leads to this cramped mini climb section. This part can mostly be done the usual way, but it's best to do the wall jumps quickly and be careful with the last jump to the button. Once we do that, we enter the tower section. Once again, it's pretty simple for the most part. Just play through it normally, and well, I guess be careful on this truss. Then continue as usual, press the button and avoid the EMBOT, keep going normally, then once again, be careful on another truss, then exit the tower. It's not really that interesting, I'm gonna be honest. Although, from here on out, things do get a bit more interesting. Pressing button 10 can definitely lead to your death if you're not careful, but it's really easy to avoid dying here. A few jumps later and after pressing button 11, you need to avoid the EMBOT by either jumping side to side or loop jumping the EMBOT, which I did both in this run. Once the acid has risen up, you're good to go until the next room. So this next room is... yeah, it's nothing too special again, just do a few jumps. And be fast and be careful and you'll be good. Though at the start of the EMBOT chase section, you do need to spin in circles to avoid the EMBOT from catching you. However, once the passage opens up and the second EMBOT gets activated, you can move on to the next section. A few more simple jumps that don't really change the gameplay that much with the EMBOT modifier. But then again, be careful with the jump to the button. It mostly just depends on how you normally take the jump. Our next room is the pre-tower room. This room is nothing too special, to be fair. Just be fast and don't stop moving. That's it really. The same thing can be said to the tower section. It's functionally the same as it was without the EMBOT modifier. There are just 2 of them now. The final stretch / post tower is once again just all about speed. The final cutscene does require you to dodge the EMBOT by looping around in circles constantly while the camera is panned far away. But it's not that difficult to pull off. You also don't have to worry about falling out of the escape pod since you could still easily survive even if you're not in it. Okay, yeah, I think I've done it. Like, this is not hard. Yeah, I did it. Nice. Let's go. Let's go! Electron memories. Yeah, wow, this was painful to rebeat, to say the least, as it took quite a bit of my time. So yeah, let me show you why exactly it took so long. The first room is really unchanged with this modifier. Aside from being forced to move around after pressing button 1, it's just the same. After some time has passed, you'll be forcefully dragged back into the escape pod and teleported to the next section of the map. Once teleported, continue playing normally until you reach button 3. Avoid charging at the door immediately after pressing it, as doing so will likely get you killed. The next few obstacles are quite simple. All you need to do is just don't get caught by these barrier jumps here, and don't stall on the wall jump. For the next room, after reaching the ground, immediately jump onto the poles protruding from the wall, press the button, and land on the second pole instead of the third to be able to survive. One more careful button push later and the path to the next room opens up. This room isn't challenging, just time your jump correctly into the vent, or you'll get stuck outside and die. And once you reach the door to the tower section, dodge the EMBOT by simply looping around it. Once the tower door is open, be mindful of the first jump. I recommend jumping from the right side, and mid-jump move to the left to safely land on the circular platform. That way, you'll avoid getting caught by the EMBOT. Then, the tower is pretty manageable until you reach buttons 10 and 11, where you'll yet again will have to maneuver around the platform so that you don't get killed by the EMBOT. We will now skip ahead, since the rest of the tower is fairly straightforward. The first post-tower room is quite easy, but there are a few things to note about this section. We'll start off with the first group of obstacles. The only thing to worry about here is button 12. Because button 12 isn't immediately accessible, you'll need to circle the platform once before jumping to it. The second group of obstacles is just as simple as the first, maybe even simpler. The only thing you really have to do here is jump from one piece of floating debris to the next. The third group of obstacles is definitely harder than the previous two, but it's still manageable. The first platform spins off-center rather than from the middle. So wait until the shorter side of the platform is positioned here, as this will make the jump back easier than attempting it with the longer side. Also be careful with the truss. Do not jump too early onto it, as the EMBOT will catch you if you climb for too long. Then for these jumps, just do them quickly, and once you reach the last red sphere platform, jump around once and immediately go onto the spinning platform. After that, you've basically beaten this entire section, as the final group of obstacles is laughably easy. Now after reaching the fake exit region, just dodge the EMBOT however you can until you get teleported to the next section of the map. As soon as you get teleported, make sure you don't get killed by the EMBOT right away. If you do survive, continue with the rest of the mini tower. And yet again, be careful with these trusses, like I haven't reminded you a million times already. Anyway, get to this pipe, jump around the EMBOT, walk a bit on the pipe again, and jump once the acid rises. Swim up and out of the acid, go quick enough until you reach this part. Again, be careful with the truss. Then afterwards, press button 15, loop around the EMBOT twice, and this red barrier that blocks the path should move out of the way. As before, be careful with the trusses again. After that, the gameplay is pretty normal until the tower/final area, which has a few jumps that could end your run. The first risky jump is the one where you have to slightly go up the slope to reach the next platform. If you jump too early, you will underjump and miss the platform entirely. If you stall too long on the slope, the EMBOT will likely catch you and kill you. So yeah, don't do either of those things and you'll be fine. Another part to note is the asteroid section. Depending on the RNG that you'll get, you'll either be able to jump across the asteroids normally without any issues, Or if this game fucking hates you, you'll have to avoid getting killed by both the asteroids and the EMBOT. Lovely! But okay, now we move on to the cutscene. This is by far the most brutal part of the entire map, or even the timeline in general. Like seriously, nothing else comes close to being this unfair in any of the other timeline maps. And here's how I passed it, I guess. Firstly, you have to trigger the cutscene to start it. This pans the camera out quite a bit and makes us wait for the escape pod to launch. And yeah, of course, you can't just sit there and do nothing. You have to constantly loop around the EMBOT in this small escape pod with the camera zoomed out while also making sure that you, well, don't die. Additionally, unlike electrical malfunction, falling out of this escape pod will kill you automatically, so you better stay in it. Once some time has passed, the escape pod will launch with the player inside. Cool, right? You automatically move now since you're getting pushed up by the escape pod. Okay, then what happens? You win? No. Of course not, it's not as simple. As for some reason, the escape pod drops the player out after like 3 to 4 seconds after launch, which requires you to move out of the way of the EMBOT, or else you'll just fall on top of it and die. Once you do that, just fall until you hit the ground. Then, okay, when you reach the ground, just start looping around the EMBOT and you'll be fine, right? No. No. There are a few things you need to know when you land. The first thing is where you land. This may sound silly, but it's not. You cannot just land anywhere and expect to be safe. If you land too far to the left, you will get shot by the lasers and die instantly. The middle, or ideally the right side, works the best. But you still have to be careful not to drift too far up and too far to the left side, since that will trigger the lasers and kill you. To show just how bad this is, I made an image of the final area with my camera facing down at it. The red indicates zones where if you're too high up and in that area, you'll get shot, which as you can see, covers almost the entire left side of the image. Yes, landing here kills you. Yes, landing there also kills you. Even trying to fall into the fucking void while in this zone will also get you killed. And this isn't even our biggest worry. The camera shots during the cutscene in this map cause major movement issues. When the camera changes, your movement keys behave differently, making it tricky to move predictably as shown in the video. So, what can be done to solve this problem? Well, instead of circling around, aimlessly trying to survive an EMBOT with messed up movement controls, what if you didn't have to do that at all? Is that possible? Yes. Yes it is. And my solution is... the void. Wait, not that void. This void. More specifically, falling out of the map and into the void. Alright, where can we fall out of the map most easily? Well, we actually first gotta figure out how to survive the void, as simply just falling into the void won't suffice. To fix this, simply jumping once and falling out of the map is enough to survive the cutscene and get teleported to the exit region. Now the issue is, where exactly do you land and jump off so this whole thing is actually possible? Here. Landing on these rocks work, so like, there you go I guess? Okay, so that's cool and all, but how do we get there? In short, my answer to that would be with a janky setup and a lot of luck. Basically, once the escape pod is ready to launch, I stick to the right side of the pod from this POV. Right before it launches, I hold S and the spacebar. If this is done correctly, you should land in the right position and jump off just before the camera manipulation happens. If you're still alive at the 3 minutes and 29 seconds mark, you've probably won. Or did you? Yeah, keyword probably, as you just saw what happened. You can get launched out of the exit region and fall into the conveniently placed lava in the end room before the exit region appears. That's so awesome, right? How do we deal with this? Gamble my time until it magically works? Yeah, here's my completion. Yes! I did it! Let's go! Oh my god! I lucked out! I gambled! Gambling! Let's go! The final and hardest timeline map, Nos Astra. Oh boy, I had already completed the first 2 timeline maps with an EMBOT in earlier videos, but this was my first time doing Nos. Ever since this map came out, completing it with an EMBOT has always been on my mind. Especially when, just 2 hours after Nos Astra dropped back in 2023, Ethan DM'd me with this message. I promised I'd do it eventually, and after more than 2 years, on August 22nd, 2025, I finally beat Nos Astra with an EMBOT. Here's how I did it. The first room and the first few jumps are simple, nothing too noteworthy other than be quick. Once you enter the hallway, follow it until you reach the room with button 1. Here, make sure to not miss the button while trying to dodge the EMBOT. After pressing it, we can skip ahead since the gameplay between button 1 and phase 1 is easy enough that the EMBOT isn't much of a threat. Once you get into phase 1, watch out for the wall jumps. They're decently hard to fail because of the wall jump buffer feature, but if you happen to mistime it, you're basically good as dead. Additionally, avoid bumping into the walls or other objects while you're on the spinning cogs because they can easily get in your way, especially near buttons 6 and 7. After pressing button 8, make sure you don't hit your head on anything, like I did in the video. And for these jumps, either do them very fast, or for each jump here, walk across a bit to avoid the EMBOT. Phase 2's only real threat is the jump to the truss. Personally, I just jumped straight onto the truss without any issues. But if you want to be cautious, walk across the cog first and only then jump. Everything else in phase 2 is basically free. For phase 3, the only real thing to watch out for is the last jump to the launcher thingababab. I don't know what to call it, but you'll need to slow down a bit if you went too fast on the previous sections. After that, you reach phase 4, and it's mostly unchanged from how you usually do it. The only thing that could trip you up here are these jumps right after the first time tunnel in this phase. But again, they're easy, so let's just move on to phase 5. With this modifier enabled, phase 5 is easily the hardest phase in the map. And it's not really because of the normal gameplay, but because of how buggy it is. If you don't know already, phase 5 is incredibly buggy. If more than one person is doing this section, the platforms can randomly start to freeze up. This, unfortunately, also happens if the player has an EMBOT chasing them. But no need to worry, as I was able to find a consistent enough strategy to make the section actually work. Firstly, start by doing the first 4 jumps normally. On the 5th jump, aim for the middle, and right before you land on the platform, use a time stop. While time stopped, move to the corner and jump for the middle of the next platform. A bit after you land, jump to the following platform. From there, immediately jump and try to land right here to avoid the EMBOT. After landing, time stop again and continue the gameplay as normal. Thankfully, phase 6 is much simpler. The EMBOT modifier is basically useless here. You'll rarely get caught by it. If you know how to do this section consistently, you won't struggle at it at all. Though I'll point out that you gotta loop around the EMBOT twice on this arch before you enter the finale. The finale isn't really anything special. The only way you'll die here is if you're either genuinely stupid or insanely unlucky. And by unlucky, I mean getting randomly detached from one of the wall runs. Normally, without the EMBOT, you just spam your spacebar to survive. With the EMBOT chasing you, it doesn't really change anything. You still just spam your spacebar and go upwards. Once the explosion shoots you upward, dodge the EMBOT as you fall. Luckily, the cutscene isn't a problem this time. The player is anchored in the air, so the EMBOT can't kill you. Finally, just wait for the cutscene to finish and your win will be granted. Oh my god, wait. Oh my god, hold on, hold on, hold on. I need to survive this. I think I survived it. I survived! Yeah, I definitely... Okay, I don't have to press anything. I think? Well, I'm not dead, so... I'm just gonna... hold W and space... before it, like, gives me the win. Oh, that's my first time getting that bad? What? I've done maps though. Insane. I've done Electron with an EMBOT. I don't know why I only got that badge for the first time. But hey, I've done it. Holy shit. There you go. I've now completed every EM timeline map with an EMBOT. And before I leave, I'll share some final thoughts. Honestly, none of these maps were too crazy to complete. Well, maybe except for certain parts of the free maps, like the EM1 cutscene, the EM2 cutscene. I want to see the world burn because of this fucking cutscene! And Phase 5 in Nos Astra. But even then, I found something like Nos Astra a bit underwhelming with this modifier, since not much really changes, aside from, you know, Phase 5, which is a shame because when I was originally planning this video, I expected to have more to say about the gameplay changes with this modifier. Instead, half of it basically got turned into just be fast and careful for insert this section of the map, which feels kind of lame to me, but it is what it is, I guess. Even so, surprisingly, these completions felt easier compared to my older Electrical Malfunction and Electron Memories runs. Some jumps that I used to fail constantly now felt basically unfailable. I think that might be because the new EMBOT modifier uses a much smaller kill hitbox than the old Toon Game Mode EMBOT. I could be wrong and it might just be placebo, but I vividly remember certain parts being brutal in other maps like the Aurelius vent, which was probably humanly impossible back then, or Waving Facilities dystopian world ending, which was just flat out impossible. This clip I'm showing here also makes me think the hitbox really is smaller, because well, I'm literally clipping inside the EMBOT and I'm still somehow alive. And I have no idea how that's possible, but alright. That said, with this modifier, Aurelius is now definitely beatable, and even Waving Facilities ending seems possible, though the ending would most definitely take an insane amount of time and luck. On one hand, this supposed change is awesome since these maps are now possible, but on the other hand, it does make the EMBOT feel less dangerous, as avoiding it now seems almost effortless. Which is why I think this suggestion is a solid way to give players the option to try different tiers of a modifier, whether that means easier tiers or pushing things further with harder ones, which is personally what I'm interested in. If this actually gets added, I might revisit these maps, assuming the new tiers are challenging enough for a full new video. And finally, just wanted to say thank you for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it all the way through. See you next time.